Over the past 24 hours, editorials have appeared in both the New York Times and also the Guardian's. This has gone international, not just supporting what Edward Snowden has done, but actually calling for some form of clemency for him, allowing him to come back to the United States and not face any sort of trial for the whistleblowing that he did. Now, it's not just that both the New York Times and the Guardian have spoken out in support of him, but also the things they said are actually quite interesting and I think quite compelling. And so we're going to give you a little teaser, I guess, of some of the things that first the New York Times said. Considering the enormous value of the information he has revealed and the abuses he has exposed, Mr. Snowden deserves better than a life of permanent exile, fear, and flight. He may have committed a crime to do so, but he has done his country a great service. It is time for the United States to offer Mr. Snowden a plea bargain or some form of clemency that would allow him to return home, face at least substantially reduced punishment in light of his role as a whistleblower, and have the hope of a life advocating for greater privacy and far stronger oversight of the runaway intelligence community. Now, it might be that this is just a little blip in the ongoing story of Edward Snowden, but it also could be that this could signal a change in how people perceive what the government should do in regard to Edward Snowden. Do you think that that's likely, guys?
I don't know if this is going to have any type of impact whatsoever. It's kind of nice to have the mainstream media on board with something that we've been arguing in independent media since the very beginning of this entire case, right? But I do think that, the New York Times making this comment or making this writing this editorial does speak volumes. I don't know if it's going to translate into anything significant.
I don't know if changing public opinion about this really matters. I mean, I think public opinion has been shifting in the way of support of Edward Snowden for quite some time. Surprisingly, I read a recent poll that we talked about on the show that I do every day about millennial attitudes towards all sorts of different topics, and there was an even split between individuals who think, in the millennial kind of age bracket, between individuals who think that Edward Snowden is a hero and a traitor, which to me is insane. Yeah. I always think of the younger generation as being more supportive of Snowden, seeing him more as a hero. So yes, maybe you will see something of a shift in the public consciousness, but is that really going to affect any sort of governmental action?
Probably not. It doesn't seem like the government really cares too much what the public thinks about anything, even with the leaks. I mean, think about what happened with Occupy Wall Street, right? That had very little impact in government. I mean, it did change the discourse of the country a little bit. People were talking about issues that we weren't talking about before. But did the Obama administration change anything? Was there more regulation of our banking system or our financial sector? Absolutely not. So I think you make a good point there, Kara, about public's opinion not really mattering.
But if it wasn't for Occupy Wall Street, we would still have banks that are too big to fail. Right?
That's a good point. Imagine living in that world.
Imagine that. It would probably happen again. They would probably fail again if they were too big. Here's the problem. Edward Snowden, though, broke the law, and the idea that some 29-year-old in Hawaii can just decide that he can expose crimes inside the government. I think you should go through a couple of corrupted committees first, and then maybe some senators or congressmen that are in the pocket of the military-industrial complex, and then maybe they could not fix it.
Yeah. We have a broken system. You should use that first. But let me speak for the other side, the side that thinks that this might actually mean something. So we understand that we would not be talking about these abuses, obviously, if he had not revealed this, if Glenn Greenwald had not had the information to give to us. But also, let's not forget that 2 federal judges have now said that the NSA has violated our constitutional rights. 1 federal judge also saying that they didn't, but at least we've got the majority so far. Also, Obama did create that panel. The panel has come back with the 46 different recommendations, a 300-page report that he's reportedly considering. We certainly wouldn't have had that, both if Snowden had not revealed what he did, but also, I mean, the Obama administration spent maybe 6-7 months watching to see how the public would react. And I personally feel like the public has not been as outraged as they should be from what we found out. But obviously there was enough outrage that Obama felt the need to put together this panel and to consider at least some limited reforms. So that means that something is happening.
Right, but do you think that the public is sitting back, they're reading this editorial, and they're like, you know what? This editorial by the New York Times is going to change my political activity. I'm going to stop being apathetic, and I'm going to take to the streets and protest what the NSA is doing. They're not not going to do anything.
I'm also not surprised that the New York Times even published this. I mean, it seems like it's in the wheelhouse of what the editorial board has kind of, maybe they haven't overtly said it, but have hinted to all the way along, especially The Guardian. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
of
two
course, The
pieces,
Guardian.
right? New York Times and The Guardian, but The Guardian's been supporting Snowden's actions from the very beginning. So I'm kind of not surprised that this is the media opinion. I'm glad they're being overt about it now, like you said. The kind of mainstream media is finally stepping up to the plate, but I think that this has been the majority opinion in the media the entire time.
I don't follow the New York Times ever since they lied to us about weapons of mass destruction on the front page routinely. I stopped looking to them for news, so I don't really know how but I know that they've distanced themselves from Julian Assange and from Chelsea Manning,
Yes.
which they were working together, and then they tried to throw them under the bus, and now here they are. Hey, you know what? Turns out that stuff is pretty good. So I don't, the Bill Keller from the New York Times. I have no use for that guy, really. That guy is just, he's another one of those centrists, right? Hey, grow up and let the government spy on you is pretty much how he feels about most things. Yeah. So,
and unfortunately, that's a common opinion.
Yes.
I mean, it's a very common opinion.
He'll say things like, I was listening to that show Left, Right, and Center, and Matt Miller, with his defense of the government, is like, I just assumed they were already doing all these things. Oh, so that makes it okay?
That makes it okay.
Yeah, like if it was 1950, I just assumed they weren't letting black people vote. So I guess it should be
let's just keep going on with the status quo.
Jim, if only Matt Miller had a nationally syndicated program to discuss these abuses that he assumes are taking place. If only he had that. But I think that this could influence two different groups, and the first group is the average people. Now, I don't think that they're going to take to the streets and protest. It might be limited to some sort of MoveOn.org petition, but the reason I think it could influence them is, as you said, millennials are right now somewhat split between thinking he's a hero or a traitor, and I think that the reason for that is that when it comes specifically to Edward Snowden, I think that for millennials it's a very low information evaluation that they're giving.
I completely agree.
Can I just quickly jump in
And
there?
so the New York Times saying something like this provides a big new piece of information for them to integrate into that evaluation.
I still don't think it's going to be that effective. I'm glad the New York Times has taken that stance, but I don't know if it's going to translate into anything. But I do want to make a point about how the mainstream media and the establishment press decided on the narrative when it comes to these NSA leaks. And what I mean by that is, instead of talking about the constitutionality of the leaks, we're having a ridiculous conversation about whether or not Edward Snowden is a hero or a traitor. And we have been completely distracted by that nonsensical argument. So as long as we have that issue with the establishment press, and that issue will continue, I don't think we're ever going to have a real conversation about the constitutionality. The only thing that we can really rely on at this point, and I'm dubious about this, is that this case with the ACLU and the NSA will eventually go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will rule in the right way. But I don't even know if that's going to happen.
But that majority opinion, like you said, is only, further galvanized by this kind of op-ed. Really, again, it's about what's going to happen to Snowden, what's going to happen to Snowden. It's not about what's going to happen to the American people. It's not about, are we going to see any legislative effects? Are we going to see any changes to the way that the NSA is operating? It's all about, are we going to make sure that Snowden gets clemency?
But don't you think the bigger question here, John, is Snowden, is he a patriot or is he a traitor? I think that's the question.
Look, I think to answer that, I think that is an interesting question because he is a representative of the potential for future whistleblowers, I think.
Yes.
And how we evaluate Edward Snowden today, I think, could have some impact on how we evaluate future whistleblowers. And that's why I think it's so important to set a precedent by getting Obama to give him clemency.
I don't think our government is interested in precedents. I think our government, I even think our judiciary, as of late, is not interested in precedents. They're interested in making decisions based on the circumstance, whatever is going to have the best political power at that time. Okay. I don't think that that's really going to affect anything. But that is like the most cynical and depressed opinion, probably, on this panel.
So one other thing I want to talk about, though, is I saw a tweet from David Sirota, and he was saying that he thinks that one effect that these dual editorials could have is it could provide sort of ideological, or I guess institutional respect cover for more mainstream reporters to say these sorts of things, presuming that some people in mainstream media, on MSNBC perhaps, feel this way about Edward Snowden, but feel like they don't want to be the first person to come out and say he's a patriot. It's just the common wisdom, I guess, in D.C. that he is that he's a traitor, or at the very least, he should have gone through the system because they're used to propping up the system. But perhaps this could lead to.
But don't most of the correspondents on MSNBC already say things like that?
No.
Really?
Not that I've seen, at least.
No. From what I've seen, no. That, like Melissa Harris Perry, for instance, she was big, really down. Come on, Edward Snowden, come back and face the music. You need to come back and face this corrupt system you just exposed.
Exactly.
And she did like
a system that you should expect to protect you. No way.
And she was angry at him for fleeing, and and she did like a 12-minute rant on it. So it's kind of a pet peeve of
the
mine.
Rachel Maddows, the Chris Matthews, like these are people who are in support of Snowden. I think their main
That's
correspondents.
I think
very
Rachel
possible.
Maddow is. I don't know about Chris Matthews. I would be surprised if he'd probably play both sides of this one.
Yeah,
I sometimes feel like he uses a dartboard to figure out where he's going to come down on different things. But
Well, I'll tell you what Chris Matthews does do is he does think, what does the majority of my audience want to hear? And then I'll tell them that. And he's almost admitted that. He goes, I'm always conscious of who I'm talking to. He said, and what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly what that means.
It means you want good ratings. That's what it
Yes,
means.
I'm always conscious of who I'm going to let who's watching me influence the way I deliver the news. That is.
And that's the machine. Because unfortunately, if he doesn't do that, he's not going to be in business.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the
He's
danger.
going to be like Soledad O'Brien doing a podcast somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Or your ratings are going to get low enough that you insult Sarah Palin one time and then you get canned or something like that.